Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. 3 weeks ago, my wife, Jasmine, reserved our favorite restaurant, invited all our friends, and announced that our marriage was a waste of time. She said she was upgrading. Everyone cheered her liberation while I sat there watching my life implode in front of a dinner crowd. But let me back up. We have been married for 6 years. Not perfect, but I thought we were solid. Sure, we had our rough patches like any couple, but nothing that screamed divorce court. She had been distant for a few months, working late, going out with girlfriends more often. Classic signs, right? When I brought it up, she flipped it around and made me feel like I was being paranoid or controlling. The restaurant thing came out of nowhere. She told me she wanted to have dinner with our friends at Marino's, the Italian place we went to for our anniversary every year. She said it would be nice to get everyone together since we had not seen them in a while. I thought it was thoughtful. Shows you how naive I was. I should have known something was wrong when I walked into that private dining room. The way everyone looked at me like they were watching a car accident in slow motion. They all knew. Every single one of them knew what was coming except me. She waited until after the appetizers. She stood up with her wine glass like she was giving a toast. I actually smiled, thinking she was going to say something kind about us. Maybe announce a vacation we were planning or something. Instead, she cleared her throat and said, "I wanted you all here tonight because you are my closest friends and I needed witnesses for what I am about to say." Her voice was steady, rehearsed. This was not spontaneous. This was planned and calculated. "This marriage has been a complete waste of my time," she said. "I have spent 6 years of my prime trying to make something work with someone who just does not get it. I am done settling. I am done pretending. I am upgrading." The silence lasted maybe 3 seconds. Then Brandon, our friend from college, started clapping. Then another friend joined. Then the whole table erupted in applause like she had just announced she was curing a disease. They were cheering the end of my marriage like it was some kind of victory. She looked right at me with a smile I had never seen before, cold, satisfied, like she had just won a game I did not know we were playing. I could have made a scene. I could have demanded answers. I could have asked why she needed an audience to destroy our marriage. I could have pointed out that she had just humiliated me in front of people I considered friends. But I did not. I took off my wedding ring, placed it on the table next to my untouched pasta, and walked out. No words, no drama, no giving her the reaction she was clearly expecting. The silence I left behind was more powerful than anything I could have said. The applause died immediately. I heard chairs scraping against the floor as I reached the door, probably people realizing they had just participated in something ugly. I drove home in complete quiet. No music, no phone calls, no processing what had happened. Just silence. When I got to the house, I went straight to the garage, grabbed some boxes, and started packing her things. Not out of anger, just practicality. If she was upgrading, she would need her things for wherever she was going. She came home around midnight, probably expecting to find me drunk or crying or begging for explanations. Instead, she found her clothes neatly folded in boxes by the front door. "We need to talk," she said. I looked at her for a long moment, then went upstairs to bed. I had work in the morning, and talking was not going to change what happened at that restaurant. She had made her choice in front of an audience. Now she could live with it. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks of absolute silence between us while she stayed at her sister Rochelle's place. 3 weeks of her trying to reach me through friends, through family, through text messages I did not answer. And now she needed something from me. The first few days after the restaurant were interesting. Word travels fast in our circle, and apparently the narrative being spread did not match what actually happened. According to the version making its rounds, I had stormed out in a rage. I was painted as the angry, controlling husband who could not handle his wife's independence. Some even suggested I had been holding her back for years. My brother called me on the second day. "What happened at Marino's? Everyone says you lost it." I left my ring on the table and walked out. "That is it. That is it. You did not say anything." "Nothing." He was quiet for a moment. "That is actually worse for her. She probably expected you to explode so she could justify the whole thing." He was not wrong. The silence was driving her crazy. I could tell from the messages she kept sending. First, defensive, explaining why she had to do it that way. Then apologetic, saying maybe she could have handled it better. Then angry, accusing me of being immature for not responding. I deleted every single one after the first line. Rochelle showed up at my office on day 4. We have professional building security at the front desk, and she somehow convinced them to let her up. I was in the middle of a client meeting when my assistant, Kayla, knocked. "Sir, there's a woman here who says it is urgent family business." I excused myself and found Rochelle pacing in reception. The moment she saw me, she launched into a prepared speech about how marriages take work and how I should not give up so easily. "She made a mistake," Rochelle said. "People say things they do not mean when they are under stress." Under stress? She reserved a restaurant, invited 12 people, and prepared a speech about how I am a waste of her time. That is not stress. That is planning. She wants to come home. She wants to work this out. Then she should not have announced her upgrade in front of an audience. I walked back to my meeting. Security escorted Rochelle out when she tried to follow. The friends who had cheered that night started reaching out too. Awkward calls and texts suddenly offering to mediate. They wanted to explain her side, help us work through this rough patch, suggest counseling. I blocked every number. By the end of the first week, I had changed the locks. Not out of spite, just common sense. She had already announced she was done with the marriage. No point leaving the door open for more theatrics. She found out when she tried to come by while I was at work. The neighbors told me she sat in her car for 2 hours calling my phone over and over. When I got home, there were 17 missed calls and a long voicemail I did not listen to. Week 2 brought the lawyers. She wanted to discuss division of assets, the house, our joint accounts. I told my attorney, Mr. Carter, to handle everything according to what she had requested that night at the restaurant. She wanted an upgrade. Upgrades usually cost extra. The joint checking account had been emptied by day 10. Her half, of course. The credit cards were maxed out on things I did not recognize. Designer bags, jewelry, expensive dinners. She was living like someone who had just come into money, not someone planning a divorce. Mr. Carter called with an update. She is asking for spousal support. Based on what? She claims she needs time to get back on her feet professionally. I laughed. The woman who had announced her independence to a cheering crowd now wanted me to fund it. She upgraded. Upgrades should not need financial assistance from the old model. By week 3, the picture was getting clearer. The friends who cheered were not lining up to help with her independent life. Rochelle was not offering a permanent place to stay. The apartment hunting was not going smoothly. That was when the text shifted from emotional to practical. She needed to talk about logistics, paperwork, things that require my signature. I saved those messages, not to respond, just to remember what desperation looks like when pride runs out. Her apartment applications were getting rejected, not because of income, but because of her credit score. Those maxed out credit cards had consequences. Most decent places in our area wanted a co-signer for anyone without established rental history. Mr. Carter got the call first. Her lawyer wanted to discuss temporary arrangements while the divorce was pending. Staying with Rochelle indefinitely was not working out. 2 kids and a husband who was not thrilled about a permanent house guest. She needs somewhere to live, Mr. Carter said. She should have thought about that before a public announcement. Her lawyer is suggesting she could move back into the marital home temporarily. I was quiet for a moment. The audacity was almost impressive. Tell them no. She wanted an upgrade. Upgraded people do not move backward. Her attempts to reach me through mutual friends intensified. Suddenly, people who had not called me in months were very concerned about my well-being. They talked about being the bigger person. I cut those conversations short. The most transparent attempt came from her gym buddy, Erica. She cornered me at the grocery store, probably not by accident. "She's really struggling," she said, blocking my card in the cereal aisle. "Maybe you could just talk to her. Work something out." She had 12 witnesses when she worked everything out already. That was just emotions talking. She did not mean it. She stood up, made a speech, and waited for applause. That is not emotion. That is performance. I pushed my cart around her and kept shopping. The most telling moment came when I ran into Kendrick, a guy who had been at that dinner. We had played poker together for 3 years, had barbecues, watched games. I thought we were friends. He was coming out of a home improvement store as I was going in. Could not avoid the conversation. "Hey man, how are you holding up?" "Fine." "Look, about that night," he shifted, uncomfortable. "Maybe we should have said something." It was pretty awkward. Awkward enough to stop clapping. He did not have an answer for that. "You want the truth?" I said. You all did me a favor. I got to see exactly who was in my corner when things got tough. That weekend, Jasmine's desperation reached a new level. She showed up at my gym, not a workout, just sitting in the parking lot when I came out. She followed me to the gas station, staying 2 cars behind like an amateur private investigator. When I got home, she was parked across the street. I waved through the window and closed the blinds. Her social media evolution was its own performance. The first week had been all about independence and new beginnings. Inspirational quotes about knowing your worth and not settling. Photos of expensive dinners and shopping trips. By week 3, the post changed. Subtle hints about how hard change could be. Captions about true friends showing their colors during difficult times. The comments were fewer and less enthusiastic. Rochelle called my work again, but this time security was ready. They told her to make an appointment or not come back. Then came the call I had expected. Mr. Carter's office on a Thursday afternoon. She wants to discuss the house specifically. She's asking if you would be willing to let her stay there while she gets back on her feet. For how long? They did not specify. They are calling it a humanitarian gesture. The woman who publicly announced that our marriage was a waste of her time wants humanitarian assistance. That is essentially the ask. What is her backup plan if I say no? They did not mention one. Based on application rejections and her current living situation, her options are limited. Tell them I will think about it, I said, though we both knew my answer. She made her choice in front of an audience. Now she could live with it in front of the same audience. The next week was a masterclass in manipulation. First came the health scare text, urgent message about chest pains, and a trip to the emergency room. She was alone and scared. She realized what really mattered when she thought she might be having a heart attack. I called the hospital. No record of her being admitted or treated. Next was the financial emergency. Her car had broken down, and she did not have money for repairs. She was stranded, could not get to work, just needed a small loan to get back on her feet. I checked her social media. Photos from a wine bar with friends, just hours before the supposed breakdown. The car looked fine in the background. Then came the guilt trip campaign. Messages about our wedding day, our honeymoon, the good times we shared. She said she had a midlife crisis. The restaurant speech was her way of asking for space, not ending the marriage. The friends misunderstood her intentions. She never meant for it to sound so final. When subtle manipulation did not work, she switched tactics. Friday night, she showed up at my house with takeout from our favorite Thai place. She stood on the porch with bags of food, ringing the doorbell every few minutes for an hour. I ordered pizza and watched television while she performed for the neighbors. Saturday brought reinforcements. Her mother, Denise, showed up, which was interesting since she had barely spoken to me in 6 years. Suddenly, I was the son she never had. Could you not find it in your heart to forgive one terrible mistake? She is impulsive, Denise said through the door. You know how she gets when she is overwhelmed. Overwhelmed enough to reserve a restaurant and invite 12 people to watch her announce my inadequacy. Denise did not have a good response. Sunday was the religious angle. Jasmine had found God, apparently, attending church, praying for guidance, realizing that marriage was a sacred commitment that should not be thrown away over momentary confusion. By Tuesday, the story evolved again. Now she claimed temporary insanity. The stress of her job, our relationship issues, family problems I had never heard about. She was not thinking clearly that night at the restaurant. Her lawyer even tried to use it in a communication to Mr. Carter. Temporary diminished capacity due to emotional distress. My response was simple. If she was mentally incompetent when she made that speech, then she is mentally incompetent to sign legal documents now. We should wait until she is declared fit to make decisions. That argument disappeared quickly. Wednesday brought threats. If I did not start communicating, she would take more aggressive legal action. She would fight for half of everything, including my retirement accounts and the business assets I built before we met. Thursday, the threats were replaced by promises. If I would just meet with her, she would sign whatever I wanted. No spousal support, no claims on my assets, a clean break. She just needed one conversation to explain everything. Friday was back to desperation. She was going to lose her job if she did not find stable housing soon. Her performance at work was suffering. Rochelle was threatening to kick her out. She had nowhere else to go. The weekend brought the final card. Mutual friends, staging an intervention. 4 people showed up at my door Saturday morning. People I had known for years, acting like I was the problem. She made one mistake, they said. Everyone deserves a second chance. She has learned her lesson. You are being cruel by ignoring her. Marriage is about forgiveness. I listened and asked one question. Would any of you want your spouse to stand up in front of your friends and announce that your marriage was a waste of time and they were upgrading? The silence stretched. They left without accomplishing their mission. By Sunday night, her messages had a different tone. Less begging, more demanding. I owed her a conversation. I was being unreasonable. She deserved better than total silence. Monday morning brought the call I had been waiting for. Not to Mr. Carter this time, directly to me at work. We need to talk today. It is urgent. Her voice was different. Desperate, trying to hide behind false confidence. It is about the apartment application. She paused. I need you to co-sign. There it was. The real reason behind 4 weeks of manipulation, guilt trips, and fake emergencies. She did not want me back. She did not want to work on our marriage. She did not want forgiveness. She needed my signature on a lease because nobody else would vouch for the woman who publicly celebrated the end of her marriage. I agreed to meet her, not to help, but because I would not miss that conversation for anything. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. She arrived 15 minutes early, probably hoping to control the narrative. I showed up exactly on time, carrying a small cardboard box I had picked up from the shipping store. She looked worn. Designer clothes could not hide the stress around her eyes, or the weight she had lost. The confident woman from Marino's was gone, replaced by someone who kept checking her phone every 30 seconds. Thank you for coming, she started, trying to sound composed. I know this has been difficult for both of us. Has it? I sat down. I've been sleeping fine. She flinched but kept going. Look, I know you are angry about how things ended, but we need to be practical. I found a great apartment, but the landlord requires a co-signer because of some credit issues. It is just a formality. I'm not asking you to pay for anything. Just sign the paperwork so I can move on with my life. I placed the cardboard box on the table between us. I brought you something. She tried to stay focused. Can we discuss the apartment first? I need to give them an answer by tomorrow. Open the box. What is it? A housewarming gift for your new place. Her hand shook slightly as she lifted the lid. Inside was a folded sheet cut from a large appliance box. She stared at it, then looked up. What is this? Your backup housing plan. Since you are asking the man whose marriage you called a waste of time to co-sign your lease, I figured you might need alternatives. Her face went white, then red. Are you serious right now? Completely. Here's the thing about upgrades. They're supposed to be better than what you had before. What you are describing sounds more like a downgrade that requires assistance from the old model. I made a mistake, okay? I said things I did not mean because I was confused and angry. Stop. I held up my hand. You were not confused. You reserved a restaurant. You invited 12 people. You prepared a speech. You waited for applause. The only thing you are confused about now is why your upgrade is not working the way you planned. She tried a different angle. I know I hurt you. I know that night was terrible, and I am sorry, but we were together for 6 years. That has to count for something. It does. It counts as 6 years I spent with someone who could humiliate me in front of our friends and then expect me to help her move into a new apartment. You are asking for my signature so you can start a new life in a place you cannot secure without help from the husband you publicly discarded. Her voice rose. Fine. You want me to grovel? Is that what this is? You want me to beg? No. I want you to understand something clearly. I leaned forward. The woman who stood up at Marino's and announced she was upgrading does not get to ask favors from the man she upgraded from. Where am I supposed to go? Rochelle cannot let me stay much longer. I have applied everywhere, and they all want a co-signer. You are the only person who qualifies. That is not my problem anymore. You made it very clear that my opinion, my feelings, and my future were not your concern. Why should your housing situation be mine? She grabbed the cardboard from the box and tossed it at me. You are cruel. I'm trying to fix this, and you are being vindictive just because your feelings got hurt. You think this is about hurt feelings? The coffee shop was getting quiet. People were listening. You turned our relationship into a public joke so your friends could cheer for your liberation. Now you're asking me to co-sign your lease like we are business partners. I said I was sorry. No, you said you made a mistake. There is a difference. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. What you did was calculated humiliation designed to make yourself feel powerful at my expense. I picked up the flattened cardboard and placed it back in the box, then slid it across the table. Here is my answer to your cosigner request. If you're depending on me to help you get that apartment, you should start looking for a nice bridge to sleep under, because that cardboard is the only housing assistance you are getting from me. She lost control. She shouted about how I was vindictive and cruel, how she never realized what kind of person I really was, how I was proving she was right to leave. The entire coffee shop watched, just like at the restaurant, except this time there was no applause. I waited until she ran out of steam. You are still performing, I said quietly, still trying to make me the villain in your story. But everyone here can see what is happening. The woman who celebrated her independence in public is melting down because her ex-husband will not help her pay rent. I stood and left cash for my coffee. Your place is not next to me. Not anymore. I walked toward the door, leaving her sitting there with her cardboard box and the eyes of the room on her. She called my name, but I did not turn around. That was 2 months ago. The divorce was finalized last week. Clean, simple, no extra drama. She did not get spousal support. She did not get half my assets. She got her personal belongings and the reality check she had been avoiding. Turns out, when you publicly announce your marriage is worthless in front of witnesses, those witnesses become very useful in court. Mr. Carter had a field day with the testimony from that night at Marino's. As for where she ended up living, it was not the upgrade she had in mind. Rochelle asked her to leave 2 days after the coffee shop meeting. Something about not being able to handle the drama anymore. Jasmine found a studio apartment in the worst part of town, the kind of place that does not require cosigners because they are desperate for anyone who can fog a mirror. No doorman, no amenities, bars on the windows. Her social media posts about independence and new beginnings stopped after she moved in. The friends who cheered at the restaurant faded away when she needed actual help. It turns out applauding someone's decision is a lot easier than dealing with the consequences of that decision. I heard through the grapevine that she reached out to some of them for a place to stay or a cosigner. Suddenly guest rooms were very full and finances very complicated. My life, on the other hand, improved dramatically. The house is peaceful now. No more walking on eggshells. No more parsing every conversation for hidden meanings. I redecorated. I got rid of furniture that came with baggage and bought what I wanted. The living room has a massive sectional perfect for watching football. The garage is organized like a showroom. The kitchen finally has the tools I wanted, but could not justify before. Work is better too. It is remarkable how much more focused you can be when you're not constantly stressed about the mood at home. My productivity jumped, and I got a promotion 3 weeks after the divorce was final. I returned to the gym regularly, something I had let slide during the last year of the marriage. I lost 15 pounds, regained muscle definition, and feel better than I have in years. Word spread about what actually happened at Marino's, the true version, not the spin. People talk, and eventually the real story comes out, especially after the coffee shop incident. A few people recorded her meltdown. Those clips circulated around town. She became a cautionary tale about burning bridges and expecting people to help rebuild them. I ran into one of her friends last month, a woman named Brianna, who had been at that dinner. She actually apologized for clapping. She said she got caught up in the moment and did not think about how it felt from my perspective. We thought she was being dramatic, Brianna admitted. Nobody expected her to actually follow through with leaving. But you all cheered anyway, I said. She did not have a good answer. 2 weeks ago, I started dating again. Nothing serious yet, just coffee and dinners with women who appreciate a man who knows what he wants and does not tolerate disrespect. It is refreshing to talk with people who do not see relationships as power struggles. These women listen when I talk, contribute to conversations, and show genuine interest. It is everything that had been missing for the past 2 years. I heard Jasmine had tried to date too, but it is not going well. It is difficult to build trust with someone new when your history includes a public declaration that your marriage was a waste of time and your ex-husband refuses to speak to you. In a small community, stories travel. Men talk to each other. The story of the woman who humiliated her husband in public tends to make the rounds. That is not the kind of reputation that attracts quality partners. The best part of it all is the peace. No drama, no manipulation, no walking into rooms and wondering what I did wrong this time. I wake up every morning in a house that belongs entirely to me, with plans that do not require anyone's approval, surrounded by things I chose because I like them not because someone else thought they looked good. The wedding ring I left on that table at Marino's is still in my jewelry box. Not because I'm sentimental, but because it is a reminder of what happens when you let someone treat you like you are disposable. Jasmine taught me an invaluable lesson, even though it was not the one she intended. She showed me exactly what I was worth to her. More importantly, she showed me what I should be worth to myself. Never again will I accept being someone's backup plan. Never again will I tolerate being disrespected in public or in private. Never again will I make myself smaller so someone else can feel bigger. The woman who announced she was upgrading ended up with the biggest downgrade of her life. Meanwhile, the man she thought she was leaving behind actually did upgrade, just not in the way she expected. I upgraded to a life without her in it. Best decision I never had to make. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.